Assalamualaikum and welcome back to the Desi Powerhub podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about how to keep things neat and tidy. I am someone who's known to keep her desk space neat, her lab bench pretty neat. Whenever I'm leaving a space, I try to clean it up and I tend to tidy it up I don't tidy things as I go along, but I do tidy them at the end of the day. Or at the end of the task. But this wasn't always the case. I was someone who my family members would be like, oh, you can never get your desk clean because it would always be a huge mess. My room would be a huge mess. I would hoard on to so many tiny just toys and trinkets just because I didn't want to throw them away. And all of that changed when I came across minimalism and trying to, declutter and decrease the amount of stuff I have. Why you can't keep your space neat also differs according to different people, but for me, I think the main reason why I couldn't keep my space clean was because I had so much stuff to begin with. So I've compiled a list of things are like rules or statements that have helped me overall to improve my habits over the years, and I'd like to share them with you because I know there must be more people who want to be neat but they really don't know how. So talking a bit about minimalism, because it's obviously connected to that, I saw a YouTube video where there was like a very neat place and there was a dude, I think he was Japanese, and he was talking about minimalism, and he said that he is at his core a very messy person. And the only reason he's neat is because of minimalism. If you don't know what minimalism is, it is basically just keeping the things around you to a minimal and having only those things that make you truly happy or that truly add value to your life on a day-to-day basis, right? Even now I have a 5% rule where I try to keep clutter below 5% because I know if it increases by 5%, it's going to take me a lot of mental energy and motivation to get up and try to clean all of that, because I know it's going to take me an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. I should also add that I also have a tendency, because I know that some of you also feel the same way, where you want to clean something and so you're gonna decide, okay, let me deep clean it. So you deep clean it, but the next time you want to clean something, you remember, oh, I had to deep clean it last time and that took me so long. So if I have to clean it, I need to make sure I have that much amount of time, which we know doesn't always happen. It's quite hard. And so we kind of get intimidated, and it ends up being the cycle where things are getting messy, but you think you might have to deep clean to clean them. So you don't, and they get messier. And then you now definitely have to deep clean to clean all of it. So some of the things that have helped me one of them was having designated times. So even if you're daunted by this, it's okay to have a time just so you're mentally prepared regarding when you should be doing something. Like for me, the weekend is when I should be like cleaning, vacuuming everything, and just dusting overall. But it's not only the weekend where I do this. I also have designated like routines. For example, when I get back from like work or outside, I know I'm gonna have to, when I take off my hijab, I'm instantly folding it and putting it back. When I'm taking off my clothes, if I wanna wear them again, I will hang them. And so this is like the routine I've established. But also obviously have a secondary routine where if I don't wanna hang my clothes or fold my hijab as soon as I get back, a secondary, like a fallback mechanism is that I'm gonna hang them, on the hook behind my door. Because if it's behind my door, the rest of my area is still gonna be neat. But if I just keep on keeping them on my chair, on my bed, that's slowly gonna accumulate. And then when you actually get around to cleaning it, you tend to be more intimidated by the fact that there's so much left to clean. Another thing that has helped me is making things accessible. So if for example, the hijab, analogy, if I wanted to come back home, fold my hijab and keep it back in a box or in a drawer, well, I wouldn't want to keep it in a drawer because you add more resistance when you're keeping it in the drawer, or you're like putting it somewhere where it's not like right there in front of you. Like if I have to fold my hijab, then I have to open the drawer, put it in there, and then close the door. That just adds a bit of resistance. So you want to try to keep resistance to a minimal. So the way I arrange my hijabs is I have this small cloth box, and it doesn't have a lid, so it's literally open, and the hijabs are organized one after the other where they're folded. So I literally just have to fold my hijab and tuck it in. That is it. I don't have to do anything else, open any drawers, I don't have to pull down any boxes or anything. So try to keep it simple. And especially, I don't know, you get back home and then you have to do like 5 tiny tasks. Don't like try to overcomplicate it and do one and then do something else for an hour and then do the second one. Try to batch them. Get like your timer or watch and then set a timer for 15 minutes and do all of them in one go. That's going to make it less intimidating, and they turn into one task instead of like 10 tiny tasks that are going to loom over your head the entire day. And another step was not to have that much stuff in the first place. So like I said, that adopting minimalism really helped me. Initially, I would always be intimidated by the fact that, okay, minimalism has to be that I have to get rid of everything. And so I would try to get rid of everything and maybe try to count the things I had. That there's this whole fascination in minimalism where people try to count the things that they have and be like, oh, I only have like 120 items. So it doesn't have to be to that extreme, because I realized that did give me anxiety. You can just have the basic amount of items you need to keep your stuff neat and clean, but also you happy. Like enough stuff that you can pursue hobbies that you want to pursue, but still not feel like you're being overwhelmed by how much stuff you have to maintain and clean. There's a saying that I couldn't find the exact words for it, but it goes something like this. It says that when you die, everything that you've cherished and you spent so much time cleaning and maintaining and organizing every single day or every single year, it's all gonna be thrown away when you die. So why not just get rid of the things that have been holding you down beforehand and just live freely for the time that you have on this earth, which really makes sense to me. Like all these, I don't know, it could be anything, maybe clothes, shoes, bags, or books, whatever, that sometimes you might like having, but more often they're giving you anxiety. Then you should try to ask yourself, are they worth keeping? Are they worth your mental energy when it comes to trying to maybe pack them or shift them or just clean, maintain, organize them? It's up to you, obviously, but I would say that if they don't really truly make you happy and you don't use them on a regular basis, they're just taking up extra time that you have, and time is the most important asset we can possibly have. So think about it. Another thing is limiting the amount of open spaces you have for clutter, and also limiting excessive storage. So I learned this through a couple videos, and they've always like stuck in my mind, is not to have a lot of open spaces, because what happens when you have open spaces, you keep things on them, they accumulate, and that's when you have a whole lot of mess that wouldn't have been in there in the first place if you didn't have that many open spaces. Obviously, a couple open spaces, like 2 or 3 per room, is fine. You don't want to get rid of all of it and then just be at a loss when you don't have any place to keep things, but try not to have too many, because that does add up and will end up with you having more clutter than you needed to have. But also limit excessive storage. Don't like try to have like 10 drawers per room or something like that. It's always going to be too much. And when you see empty spaces, like you automatically want to fill them up. So realize that you don't have to fill in every nook and cranny. You can have empty spaces and there's nothing wrong with that. Just acknowledging that really does make a difference, because then you won't be buying more stuff to fill those spaces. But then if you have to move or something and you have less space, you're now left with a lot of stuff that you don't know what to do with. Also, there's something I'm pretty sure that obsessive planners, or like planners in general, would want to wait to do stuff, and sometimes you might want to procrastinate doing that stuff, but sometimes you want to do that stuff in advance. For example, you're going to be cleaning on the weekend, but right now it's Thursday, but you feel like vacuuming the floor or vacuuming your entire room. Go for it. Don't like try to wait for a certain time where you're allowed to clean or just allowed to clean up after yourself. Let yourself do it if you feel like it. So this is using that motivation in a positive way. Obviously, don't use it in the opposite way where you know you have to clean stuff but you don't feel like it, so you don't. If you get what I mean, just use it in a reverse way. And another reason that I think is pretty important is allowing yourselves to get things neat and clean first. So this is a stark difference between my sister and I, where she always makes things neat and clean while I go for deep cleaning. So her work seems more like, okay, it might not be super clean, but it definitely looks super clean. My work, or like when I'm done cleaning, everybody knows for a fact that it's super clean, but it may not look necessarily super neat. So what I learned is that sometimes the first option in your mind shouldn't be to deep clean something. It should just be to get things neat first. And getting things neat might be putting them in the right places or even organizing stuff on a desk. Even that can help make the space look and feel more cleaner. Because you need to understand that when your go-to or like your first response is deep cleaning, then you're basically gonna be doing that, giving yourself like having to give a lot of time just to clean that area. And this would definitely put you off in the future because you're like, okay, so to clean this room, I need an hour. But if I don't have an hour, that means I won't clean this room. And that shouldn't be the case, because even if you have like 5 minutes and you just make things like organize things, like even if all of them are on the desk and you just move them around to make them look a bit more organized, that's still gonna make a huge difference in your mental health, in your how you feel in the area around you. And so your first mode of action shouldn't be deep cleaning, it should be keeping things neat first. And if they're neat and then you want to deep clean, then go for it, but don't like make it the first thing you do. And this is something that really helped me. So my mom would always tell me this story where in their hostel they had this girl who would always keep things neat and clean, and she would never have to deep clean. Like she would be like, her stuff was always in the perfect condition, and my mom was like, I don't know how she does it, it's always in the right place, everything is where it's supposed to be, and nothing feels like it's off here and there. And over time, after some trial and error, I realized it's just that you organize everything in one space or in one place where it's accessible, easy to organize, like things aren't falling if you shove one more thing on the rack or something. But once you have that designated spaces established, don't leave it anywhere else. So if you're gonna pick up the bottle of lotion or something and get some cream out or something, you're gonna be putting it back. So instead of putting it back anywhere, just put it exactly where you've always kept it, or where it was where you decided to keep it in the first place. So by doing that, things are gonna be in the right places the entire time, instead of you having to clean them over and over again. And this tip has been a huge game changer for me because I'm a naturally messy person. And so if I don't have that system around me, that order around me, I will definitely just, like, my entire cleaning routine would just crumble and like fall into chaos, and I would definitely have a very messy space. So my rule is, if I pick something, it will always go back wherever it is supposed to be. And that is why taking your time out to create that designated space and establish where you're gonna be putting things is very important. Because if I have, for example, my skincare items like sunblock and lotion, Vaseline, and creams like that, so if I put them in a very immaculate way on a shelf where slightest movement is gonna make them tumble, or just like they're not going to be stable over there, so I have to be very careful when I'm putting them. I think I would be less inclined to keep them back over there when I know I'm hurrying up. But if they're in like a metal basket, which I do keep them in, I can just toss them in. So even if I'm in a hurry, I can just toss them in and know that they are in their right place and things are going to be neat. So these were my tips for how I have changed myself from being a pretty messy person to always being neat. And when I say I was a messy person, I'm not exaggerating. When we had to shift as kids, my mom was scared to open my cupboard, And my cupboard was literally the last thing she tackled in the entire house because she was like, so much stuff that I feel overwhelmed trying to go and sort through them. So don't let things accumulate to that extent. Even if you adopt minimalism, or if you establish a system to keep things where they were, try not to let them go to that level. Try not to have a lot of stuff, and if you do, try to give them away to people while they're still usable, so that you don't feel like if you're throwing them away or if you're giving them away, they're gonna become trash. So that's it for today, and these were my tips, and I hope they help you. If you have any recommendations or any tip that you adopt, then I would definitely be interested in hearing about them. You can share them in the comments, or I would definitely like add some suggestions and would appreciate any likes. That's it for today, and assalamu alaikum. Have a wonderful week.